Well, appreciate your patience as we were having technical difficulties, but I think we're back on now. Thank you for being here tonight. I am Greg Ferris, and I do hereby call this Board of Trustees meeting to order, and we do have a quorum present. These monthly meetings are open to the public. Although these meetings are open to the public comments are confined to the time designated for that on the agenda. Again, we want to thank you for being here tonight. We will have an invocation followed by some students to lead us in our pledges, but tonight, moving on to item 3A, I'd like to introduce our invocation tonight. Jeremy Prather, he serves as a pastor of Lake Point Church of Forney. Jeremy was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, where his pursuit of the truth of Scripture began and grew. After serving 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, Jeremy entered the criminal justice field as a United States Marshal. Throughout his career, Jeremy continued to feel a distinct call from the Lord. In August of 2019, Jeremy left the world of law enforcement and began his service in full-time ministry. Jeremy and his wife, Perry, and their 3 children, Jet, Gage, and Macy. Are they all here tonight?
They are not.
Not with you? Okay. Well, thank you for being here. He is with Lake Point Church, and they are instrumental in providing food boxes for our distribution during the COVID-19 pandemic shutdown. Each week, they collected and packed essentials to distribute to Forney families. They continue to provide support to the students and staff for various needs by just giving of their time. Lake Point has adopted Warren Middle School as a partner campus. They also provide lunches for teachers and staff. They help out with the Fellowship of Christian Students meetings on Tuesday mornings. We're so thankful to have Lake Point Church Forney as a member of our Forney family. So if you would rise, Jeremy will come and lead us in our prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris, board members, for having me here. This is really cool. Hey, let's thank God for our time tonight, friends. God, we will absolutely begin by praising your name. You're at work in us and through us and all around us, and you're doing some mighty and amazing things. And so tonight we just come to you. We thank you for this time, and we're going to do one thing. We're going to come boldly, and we're going to ask for something that you hold, that you tell us we can come boldly and ask for, and that is wisdom. And so knowledge is amazing, and we will always seek after knowledge, God, but give us a righteous understanding of the things that you put in front of us, even here tonight, Father. Give us discernment to make advances in our families, in our community, and ultimately in your kingdom. So, God, we know we are not responsible for our endowments and our natural abilities. That's of you. But what we are responsible for is the strategic use of our time. And so, God, help us to do just that. Be good stewards of every day and every hour. Let us live with intention and purpose. And God, help us to remember we don't just get time to do the things that we need to do and want to do. We make the time. And so we thank you for that. We make the time to be here tonight. And so I'm thankful for every single person. And I pray that you bless our time, multiply our fruitfulness. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
You may be seated. Moving on to item B then, pledges of allegiance. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Garcia, principal of Warren Middle School, and Ms. David, director of pre-kindergarten, to introduce our students of the month who will lead our pledges.
All right, good evening, Dr. Terry, school board. This evening, I would like to introduce you to one of Warren Middle School's finest. This is Brandon G. Brandon is here tonight with his mom, Missy G. He has an older sister, Saren, at Forney High School in the 11th grade, and 6th grade future warrior in Devon, who's here this evening at Ray Elementary. Brandon is in the 8th grade, but has already taken high school courses. He is in all advanced courses and is currently enrolled in Advanced Geometry and English 1 at Forney High School. He would have taken English 1 Advanced as well, but he didn't have room in his schedule for that. He said that Brandon's favorite subject is math. He said that there's a certain gratification in solving and getting the correct answer. Brandon was a member of the Warren football, basketball, track teams, and currently part of the Warren soccer team. He is a member of the National Junior Honor Society, as well as the Vice President of Student Council. When Brandon is at home, he enjoys running. He runs about 5 days a week, and on his long runs, goes for about 10 miles. He also enjoys playing with his 5 dogs and video games, like every other middle schooler. It wasn't hard to get teachers to share and describe Brandon. Ms. Sanchez, his Spanish teacher, describes him as determined, ambitious, intelligent, and hardworking. Mr. Fortenberry, his geometry teacher, described him as being truly gifted and has an amazing work ethic. And Coach Young expressed that Brandon is the hardest working athlete he has ever seen in his 10 years at Warren. He has a work ethic and desire that is very rare for student athletes his age. Coach Young closed with saying that Brandon is the definition of who we want our Warren Warriors to be, both in the classroom and on the field. When Brandon graduates, he'd like to do something that focuses on the study of astronomy. He's not sure what college that is, but he is still looking. Brandon says that his heroes are his mom and his dad. He expressed how much motivation, support, encouragement that they are continuously giving him and his siblings. We're very proud of Brandon and how he embodies the Warrior way in all that he does.
Thank you, School Board and Dr. Terry. I'm so proud to be able to present to you Riley Cole. Riley lives in Forney with her mom and dad and her little brother, River. Riley's teacher shared that she is very outgoing and friendly. She makes friends easily and is extremely confident. When I interviewed Riley, she told me her favorite thing at school was the Purple Book, which is our phonics curriculum. At home, Riley enjoys playing with her toys and reading books. Her favorite toy is her pet narwhal named Nori Rainbow. Last week, while in her classroom, Riley reminded me that sharing is caring. Riley is off to a great start in Forney ISD, and I'm positive you will see her succeed. I'm proud to introduce Riley Cole as the Elementary Student of the Month.
If you would rise with me for our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to the Texas,
one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Hey, students. Thank you all for being here tonight. We always enjoy that time with your families. We're moving on then to acceptance of donations. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Kristen Zastapul. She'll be making a donation, or give us information about a donation for Forney High School Booster Club. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris and board. I get the fun job. So tonight, the FHS Athletic Booster Club would like to present $7,500 toward the purchase of new weight room equipment at Forney High School. So I'd like to present that for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Aspel. And because it is over the allotted amount, I do need a motion to accept it. Do I have a motion? Ms. Dobbs, do I have a second? Second. Mr. Carroll, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, and it is accepted. Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to a more exciting part. We've got more recognitions, and we have a lot of them tonight. We're going to start today with moving on then to item 5A, student recognition, and the first one up is the HOSA competition. And Mrs. Robin Pierce, Executive Director of Innovation and Information Services, will start us, and then we'll have the parade of students beginning. So get your cameras ready.
Board. Oh, sorry. I'm so honored tonight to recognize Jamima Ganal from North Forney High School. She is our first Forney ISD student ever to move on and advance to state in our HOSA competitions. She competed and placed second at regionals, competed against all schools in Area 3, which is over 35 counties, including Dallas, Collin, Kaufman, and Rockwall counties. She then advanced to represent North Forney High School at the state competition in the area of pharmacology. So, awesome.
As we get ready to continue with the parade of recognitions here, we have some large groups. And unfortunately, because of the size of the groups, we won't be able to have all the parents up here. So parents, if you'll just remain behind the photographer, he'll take his group picture, and then y'all can take your individual pictures after that. We're moving on here then to the next group. Mr. Mario Luna will make our announcements, and this will be the Warren Middle School chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris, Dr. Terry, and School Board. I'm actually going to pass this over to Ms. Janae Glanton. She is our new fine art coordinator that is helping me with cheer and dance. So.
Good evening. Forney ISD and Forney ISD Fine Arts would like to recognize the Warren Middle School Cheer Squad. The squad competed in the NCAA competition on March 6th and 7th, winning first place in their junior high game division, outforming most varsity teams and ending the contest with the fourth highest score of the entire high school national competition. In addition, the squad earned an award for their best props and the NCAA Go Be Great Award for their dedication and service to the Forney community. Congratulations to these students.
So parents, the photographer will take a group picture there with all your girls, and then when he finishes, y'all can take your pictures. Congratulations to all. Moving on then to our next group, we'll have our Warren Middle School dance. Here they come.
Forney ISD and Forney Fine Arts would like to recognize the Warren Middle School Star Steppers dance team on being named the American Dance Drill Team Nationals Junior High National Champions on March 27th. It is the first time the squad has received this top honor. In addition, the Star Steppers also received numerous first place awards in dance events, including Pom, Novelty, Prop, Lyrical, and Jazz. The team also finished in 10th place in Best of the Best competitions, beating out 34 high school teams. The squad finished the contest as the highest-ranking middle school team. Soloist Allison Edwards was named middle school champion, and Macy Norville was named first runner-up in the solo competition. This team has also earned several awards at the Showtime International Dance Contest this year. Congratulations, Star Steppers.
Thank you, girls, and congratulations to all parents. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're moving on then to the next group. This will be our item 4, Academic All-State. And our first group up will be our VASE students, and this will be Mario Luna.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. We do have 3 students to recognize tonight. So our high school art students participated in the Texas Art Educators Association VASE competition. We had 37 Forney students receive medals for their artwork. Just to give you some ideas, Region 10 had 873 kids participate, and we had 69 kids advance to the state contests in Region 10. We did have 3 students advance. And just to give you another idea, there was 22,560 entries statewide, and 1,486 went to the state contest. So we had 3 of those. 3 students that we have tonight. It's Felicity from Mendez from North Forney High School. We have Mark Noriga from North Forney High School. And our last VASE student that qualified from Forney High School is Lauren Barbie. I believe we do have Miss Kyle here and Miss Berinsky and Miss Lakey here to take a picture with us.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Moving on then to item B here, we've got girls basketball. Mr. Neil Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Dr. Terry, members of the board, it's my pleasure, as always, to recognize some academic all-state members this evening. These first two young ladies are in girls basketball. They're recognized by the Texas High School Coaches Association and the Texas Girls Coaches Association as academic all-state, which means not only are they a significantly contributing member of their varsity team, they're a senior, been through the program for 4 years, and also they're a high academic achiever in the classroom, holding a GPA typically of 92 or above in all of their coursework. Representing Forney High School girls basketball this evening, along with her coach, Shelby Holland, is Miss Tanae Fletcher. Representing North Forney High School with her coach, Coach Fleming, is Miss Jayla Moore.
Thank you and congratulations to you all. Now, who was the short guy on the end? Next, Mr. Weaver will talk about our swim team.
Yes, sir. Additionally, we are fortunate to have high performers academically and athletically in all of our sports. We finished up another great swim and dive season this year. We have representatives of our Forney ISD swimmers and divers. The first one is Miss Casey Blackshear, who was all-state academic. And our second representatives, this is a first for us. Not only was she all-state academic, but she's also an all-American academic with the Swim Coaches Association, which means she was a very high performer within the program athletically and obviously very high academic standards. So our first academic all-American swimmer diver, and they're accompanied by Coach Thompson, Forney ISD Swim and Dive. This is Miss Rachel New. Congratulations, ladies.
Somebody bring me a box. Congratulations, and thank you for being here. And then our last recognition will be our power. One more. Oh, just one more? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the state qualifiers, moving to state qualifiers. Yep, I got them. Yes, sir. All right, well, our swim and dive team is still up. In this case, these are state qualifiers. We did all-state academic. These two young ladies actually represented our swim and dive team at the state competition, which was in San Antonio this year. Got to go down there and see them perform, again, at a very high level. I believe we were the only 5A representative with two competitors in the state dive competition. Again, accompanied by Coach Thompson. This is Miss Maddie Bella-Bradick and Sky Hoover, competitors at the state level.
Thank you very much. I think now we're moving on to powerlifting.
Yes, sir. Cut you. And then finally, also, we had state representatives at the state competition in our sport of powerlifting. We had two representing both high schools. Mr. Rod Brown representing North Forney. He's unable to be with us this evening. And bringing back hardware this year, you can see it around his neck, bringing back the third place medal in powerlifting representing Forney High School. He's accompanied by Coach Roberson from Forney High. This is Cade Crawford. Yes.
Thank you all for participating in this great recognition tonight with all these. We'll now take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. It's a thumbs up, Mr. Weaver. All right, here we go. Well, thank you all again for sticking around. There's lots of excitement, I know, out there in the hallway, but I think it'll be okay. One of our cheerleaders got a little anxious, I think, and passed out, so that's what all the excitement is. Moving on here, we'll pick back up then with item number 7, the public hearing for District Innovation Renewal Plan. Is that right?
I think next we have. Oh, yeah.
And this will be the public hearing.
It's unfortunate because I think
At this time, we'll start the public hearing for the District Innovation Renewal Plan. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you very much. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Go ahead, Ms. Morsack.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferris. I apologize. I don't know what happened to me. So as you guys know, our District of Innovation Plan is up at the end of the school year. So in speaking to our lawyer, she said that in order to renew our current plan, we have to follow the entire process outlined in Texas Education Code 12A.007. So instead of reading that to you, I'm just going to kind of summarize it. So the first step was for the District of Innovation Committee to meet and vote on renewing the plan. That occurred last month, and they unanimously voted to move forward with just renewing our current plan. We then posted the plan and sent a letter to the Commissioner of Education notifying him that the district was in the process of moving forward with renewal. We did receive confirmation that the Commissioner received that letter. So that leads us to steps 4 and 5. And step 4 is to have a public hearing, which we'll do here tonight. And then step 5, after listening to public comment, would be for the board to vote on the plan. If that is approved tonight by majority vote, then I will send another letter to the commissioner notifying him of the board approval, and we'll move forward with our plan. So just as a quick reminder, originally 5 years ago when we did this, the district had 4 areas that we opted out of through the District of Innovation Plan. The first one was the first and last day of instruction. That's what allowed us to have the calendar that we have. Allowed us to have a little bit earlier start so that we could add in those days for teachers to work in their classrooms and then give us that fall break. The second one is teacher certification. And just as a reminder, this is in order for us to help fill high need jobs that we can't find teachers for. Foreign language is very difficult to find certified teachers for. We cannot use this area of DOI for special education or bilingual education, ESL, because those are all federal programs. So this is only state programs that we can use DOI for. We don't use it real often, but it does come in handy for some CTE programs and some high need areas. The third one is there of the behavior coordinator. Just as a reminder, that was a statute saying that you had to have one person on campus who did all the discipline notifications. And one, we didn't think that was feasible, but also it really didn't fit in with our value of relationships first. We much rather would have the administrator who deals with that child and with that family be the one who make those notifications and deal directly through the whole process. And then the fourth area was the probationary contract. So in the Texas statute, it says that a teacher who has worked 5 of the 8 previous years has been employed. You can only be on a probationary contract for 1 year. And we just didn't think that that was the best idea for Forney ISD. So we do 3 years for all teachers, no matter what their previous employment was. Then COVID hit, and we did an amendment last year, you'll recall. We added 2 areas. The first one was teacher duty-free lunch. And our lawyer has suggested that we just renew our plan. Just because it's in the plan doesn't mean we need to do it. So if we go back to a normal schedule next year or normal lunch schedule, this is obviously one that we will not utilize. And if the board desires, we can actually go back and remove from the plan if needed. And then the last one is class size waiver. That's one area that I would recommend we keep moving forward for several reasons. One, if we are going to continue with online instruction, a class size waiver is a great thing because we will very easily have a class over 22 through online instruction. But we're also looking at, as we continue to expand and look at how we're moving forward as a school district, maybe it's not 22-1, maybe it's 44-2 or 66-3. And we wouldn't want to have to go to a waiver every time. Obviously, our goal is to keep the class ratios as small as possible to help our students and our teachers. But that is one area, even if we do move forward, that we would recommend maybe keeping. So that is our District of Innovation plan. That is the plan that we have sent to post on the website and sent a letter to the commissioner regarding. And that concludes my report at this time.
No questions? Yes, you have a question? Microphone.
On the duty-free lunch for the teachers, we did not have that in the past, but we are having it during COVID. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So just for a point of clarification, because the kids couldn't go to the cafeteria because we were trying to keep them socially distanced, teachers did not get a daily duty-free lunch. The second that we can rectify that and get the kids back in the cafeteria, even if it's in the statute, we don't plan on keeping the kids in the classroom. Does that make sense? That's for an emergency situation only.
So then the teachers will have a duty-free lunch?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? May I have a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. Mr. Carroll, may I have a second? Second. Johnson? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on then to item number 8, our reports. The next 5 items are reports only, require no action from the board. We'll start here with item 8A, our monthly financial report. Mr. John Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. The financial activity through the month of February is what we're here to discuss tonight. Beginning with the general fund, we had $10.2 million of revenue for the month. We had $9.1 million of expenditures. Year to date, we've collected $79.1 million, or 72% of the amount estimated. And year to date expended through the month of February is $73.2 million, or 63% of the amount appropriated. Now, last year at this time, we were at it was 76% and 65% respectively, and so we're pretty close to these same percentages, and look like we're in pretty good shape in the general fund, tracking along like we would historically. Moving on to food service, we collected $440,000 for the month, and then we spent right at $50,000 for the month. Year to date, we're sitting at about $1.8 million collected, or 30%, or 36% of the amount estimated, and we've expended $2.5 million, or 51% of the amount appropriated. Now, again, in this fund, we'd normally be at about 75% collected and 69% expended, but for reasons we've discussed at length, we are behind here because we're not serving as many lunches as we normally serve. We still think the activity to impact the general fund is going to be somewhere around $500,000. About $300,000 of that was indirect costs that we won't collect in revenue in the general fund, and the other $200,000 is going to be an operating transfer to make the food service whole, so they don't run a deficit at the end of the year. So I feel like that's still on track, and the same estimate applies moving forward here. Finally, in the debt service fund, for the month, we collected $5.5 million. We spent $6.9 million. Now, February is a big month in the debt service program. That's when we make our semi-annual interest payments. Twice a year is pretty much when the activity occurs. So basically, the only thing we'll have going forward in the debt service program between now and the end of June is just revenue collections, and it'll be pretty light from this point forward because property taxes are delinquent. Most of them have been paid at this point. The revenue recognized for up to year to date is $26.9 million, or right at 98% of the amount estimated, and expenditures were $25.6 million, or right at 100% of the amount appropriated. So again, we're pretty much through with the activity in the debt service program, and you know, we may just pull this financial report from the agenda as far as the debt service goes from going forward. This won't be a lot of activity to report, other than, like I said, a little bit of revenue collections for the rest of the year. And finally, on the cash on hand, and either in the investment pool or in the bank account, we've got in the general fund, food service, debt service, capital project funds, almost $207 million in cash. Half of that, or over half of that, is the capital project funds. We sold $106 million back in February that settled up and to fund the projects that we currently have underway. To finish up Jackson Roads and Griffin, and start construction on Johnson and Willett. So we're burning through cash at a fairly substantial clip there. We'll be drawing that balance down pretty good when you start paying for the steel and concrete right now. I think last week's check run was about $8 million, so that balance will be coming down pretty quickly. But that's the financial report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. I hear none. We'll move on then to item B, detailed summary of finance update.
Summary, we do this about 3 times a year. We give the board an update on our summaries of finances, and that's just the term that TEA uses for that report that's out there on the website about how much a district is entitled to receive under the available school fund in foundation school program allotment. So basically, this time of year, on March 10th, they updated the summaries of finances with data that we submitted to the state in October, the October snapshot, and they use that enrollment figure and the other data that we send them to estimate from there about what they would expect our average daily attendance to be for the year. And normally this time of year, it's not 100% accurate, but it's getting pretty close to what we're gonna receive for the year. This year's a little different, and I'll explain a little bit in a few, but just moving on into the report that you had provided for you. Again, there's 2 columns. There's the LPE, or the legislative planning estimate column. That's the column that you can look at. That's the cash that they're actually going to send us. When you see on page 3 of the report, that's what they'll pay us based on. It's not necessarily what we actually will earn. There's a settle up process. So on that district, or DPE, or district planning estimate column, that's when they start, as more data becomes available, they start plugging those numbers in, and you can just kind of track the activity to find out whether you've been over or underpaid for the year. And so at this time of year, they update the average daily attendance number generally based on, like I said, the October snapshot. They've got the actual property values that was turned into the state comptroller's office. They've updated that as well as tax collections to match up with that, and that's all been flowed through on both the LPE and the DPE. So they do make the tax collection adjustment on the legislative plan estimate side and change the cash flow for the year for that, because they moved from the prior year state funding on prior year values to current year. And sometimes it can be a pretty large swing, like in our case. They based the original estimate on 4%, and now it's, we actually grew like 15.8% or something, and so it's a pretty big swing. But just to get into the report, again, what they're paying us based on is 12,158. based on what we turned in the October snapshot, they're estimating that our average daily attendance would be 12,067. So it's a pretty good little change there. Normally it's the other way around. Normally we're a little higher than the legislative planning estimate, but this year, because of the coronavirus, it's affected more than just how we deliver instruction. I think there's a biggest majority of the districts in the state, particularly in the urban areas, they've actually seen enrollment declines. Ours is not declining. We just have a lower average daily attendance, a lower increase, if that makes sense. And so we would expect that our ADA would probably be around 12,350 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But right now the estimate is 12,067. So the state actually adopted a hold harmless policy, and so the first two months of the first 6 weeks they were set a floor based on where they would go out and they went out and they looked at what your average daily attendance have been historically and how it's grown historically, and they extrapolated a value of what they thought you would normally have had this time of year. And ours again was up around 12,347, I think is the number I remember, 337, somewhere in there. And they said, okay, the first 6 weeks we're going to hold you harmless to that number, and we're going to pay you based on that, even though you didn't really have that number. And then they came back and said, okay, well, we're going to carry that through the whole semester, so we're going to take that for the first 6 weeks. And now they've come back and said, if you meet certain criteria, we're just basically going to give you the whole harmless ADA for the whole year. So we fully expect to be funded at 12,347 or something like that. 337, I think is the number. And so that'll substantially change what's in this report today. But again, normally it's been updated. It's usually pretty accurate, but in this particular year, it's not. Just starting out and then looking at the property values again, they started out estimating our values at a 4% increase. This number, this $5.5 billion, that actually is that 15.8 number that I'd said earlier. And so they have adjusted this in the funding formula and the tax collections to go along with that. And so when you get down to it, they're estimating about 54.3 million in M&O revenue through that we'd be entitled to under the what's currently listed in that DPE column, which is a low estimate right now. And then we get a little dab of money on the INS side. They don't give us any IFA or EDA funding anymore because we're too wealthy for that on a per pupil basis. But we still get some hold harmless money for when they changed the homestead exemption from 15,000 to 25,000. On the INS side, they held districts harmless for that drop in tax revenue that you had gotten to pay your debt service on. So they make you whole for that, and that's what that 400,000 represents. So just to get down to the final page here on this on row 7, what they were estimating based on our October snapshot count, that we would actually be underpaid by about 300,000, so almost just a break even. But as I said before, they're holding us harmless at a higher number. They don't have that updated in the formula yet, and we won't know exactly what that number is. I think we know what it is. I mean, we can put it in, run our own template, but they won't have it updated out there until probably September this year. But once it gets updated, then they will be underpaying us again, and it's about $1.6 million that we'll be entitled to. So we'll probably go ahead and make an adjustment in our revenue. Probably next board meeting we'll do a budget change and adjust our revenues accordingly to account for that. And one of the things Dr. Terry and I talked about, and I'm going to visit with our auditor, we talked a little bit about this in the budget workshop tonight, is that because we don't collect this revenue within 60 days after the fiscal year ends, we get these swings in year over year, and it's hard to make comparisons with our amount that we actually earn and what we're entitled to receive. And so I think there's a way that we might be able to footnote in our audit report, even though we're not going to follow the GASB standard of 60 days after. I mean, it's somewhat, to me, it's a little confusing for folks. I mean, it's 75 days after the fiscal year ends when we actually get this money, so we're not talking about a lot of days that we're past that deadline. So I'm gonna visit with him about it and see if we can't go ahead and just start recognizing this on if we earn that in that year, we get to recognize the revenue for that year, so we don't get this confusing mess that we're in all the time. But anyway, that's the summaries of finance. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Moving on to item C then, our master planning update, Ms. Kim Warzak.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. I'm going to kind of just give you an update on our current projects. We get these reports and they're actually, everything goes so quickly. Everything's much further along even than the pictures show. I was just out at Jackson Roads a couple hours ago and it doesn't look like this anymore. As a matter of fact, that top right picture doesn't have any drop-in in it. There's almost done with the laying ceiling tile on the Jackson side. We actually are set to do the punch on that in about a month. So moving very quickly. Brickwork's almost done, stonework's almost done. They have all the toilet fixtures in. Most of the lay-in's done. They've put Den's glass in where they didn't have windows so they can condition that side of the building. So we can start on flooring. Millwork's mostly in, tiles up. It's looking really good. On the road side, a little bit behind, but first coat of paint's up everywhere. All of the ceramic tiles on the wall, they're putting in toilet fixtures this week. We're still waiting on some storefront glass for the cafeteria, but all the structural steel is up. So just waiting on storefront there and a little bit of glass for the roadside, and that was delivered today. So should be in the dry soon, but they're getting either Den's glass or cardboard up everywhere so they can get that building conditioned. Rooftop units are set. So on track, looking good. They're pushing really hard at Jackson and Rhodes. Football field is graded. They've done they started lime today, I think. The track's in, is roughed in, so you can kind of see that football field taking shape. So looking good at Jackson and Rhodes. Griffin, this is a little bit older picture as well, but the railings are up on all the stairs. They're on second coat of paint throughout the entire building. All the ceiling grid's in. The wall tile's actually up on the stairs now, so that top picture is a couple days old and that wall tile's in. They're almost done with stone. The last bit of brick should go in this week. Waiting on some storefront on that very front entrance, in the back entrance in section 1, right there in the very front. Everything else is in the dry. The kitchen is done. The freezers are in, stoves are in, grease traps in. Classrooms are looking good. All those whiteboards are in. That's a big giant whiteboard in the bottom left-hand corner. Those are all in. They have one little small concrete pour left, but it's going really well. So millwork's in the classrooms. That's that top right picture. It's covered in the picture, but it's little cubbies with hooks in every classroom. And you can see those windows. You can actually stand outside the room and look into the classroom. And they're at kind of eye height, so you can see in, but the kids can't see out. So coming along really well at Griffin. Johnson, I made a joke earlier. They're having to bring in a bunch of select fill to Johnson, so they're hauling dirt into Johnson. We have a grading permit. We don't have a building permit yet, so they're doing grading work there. And they're digging the hole at Willett, so we're hauling dirt out. Willett, they're digging out the crawl space, same thing. No building permit yet, but a grading permit, so they're working on all the groundwork at those two. Then North Forney had a little snafu today, hit a water line, but they had it fixed almost immediately, and that everything's fine and fixed there. But they've dug a gigantic hole in the back. They're going to put in a temporary retaining wall. Moving along there, a lot of dirt work done, moving pretty fast. They keep asking me when they can get on the baseball and softball field, and I said, not for a while because we're really good. So the construction guy's head just fell when I told them how good the baseball team was. But moving along on schedule there, looking pretty good. Forney High School, there's a ton of dirt work being done there. They're doing some moisture conditioning there right now. Lots of dirt moving. They're on track, looking good. They plan on being out of there by right at the beginning of summer, or towards the middle of summer, I guess. Hopefully the band can be back on their band field right at the beginning of band. Marching is kind of the time frame there. So going well. Any questions on any of those that I can answer? I don't have Gallagher here, but I'll make up an answer. it's going really well. Lots going on, but it's going really well. And don't forget, tomorrow we have a groundbreaking for the Aquatic Center, so that's tomorrow out at that side. I do have 2 other things I'm going to show you, and I showed you this first one last month, but I'm going to show it to you again. And I have Kate Dunphy and Mike King from Huckabee here. They also have a gift for you at the dais. If you take a look, it's a little mug to commemorate the opening of the local little coffee in there for you. That came from our great partners of Huckabee Architects, and pretty excited about the 2 things I'm going to show you. So the first one I think you saw last week, but we got Forney Highs in, so I want to show you North Forney's and then Forney Highs, and we can all celebrate how cool this is. So. So that kind of gave you just a little peek into what the baseball and softball fields look like, and this one really focuses at Forney High School and what that complex is going to look like. Oh, it's the same one. You don't want to see that. Here we go. So we're just really excited and proud of these beautiful facilities that Huckabee has designed, and the sites aren't the same. You know, they aren't situated the same, so the plazas are a little bit different, but both just absolutely gorgeous. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Morzak, and thank you, Huckabee, for listening to us and all of our requests and the time you took to make it look the way it did. Thank you very much. Moving on then to item D, our first ever annual Forney ISD Police Department update.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris, Dr. Terry, board, thank you for having me. It was a little over a year ago that you decided to have the foresight and the vision to start a police department, and a year later to this day, you hired me, and a year ago today was my first day here. So believe it or not, it's been a year. And it's been a crazy year because COVID and everything, and basically I'm just very thankful that you decided to build a police department and have me as the leader of the police department. And I can't thank you enough for hiring me, and Forney has become my home, so thank you very much. I'm losing my voice, so it's been a strange week and a long week for us already, and it's only Monday. So, all right, so the first ever report for the police department, and here we go. As the chief, my job is to set the foundation for the police department. And we base that on the community and what you have entrusted us with, and that is your most precious resource, and that's your children. And your children are the most important thing to me and to everyone in my police department. Our mission, and I'm going to read these because these come straight from our written directives that part of building a police department from scratch, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but one of the main focuses is to have the vision for a police department. We have a mission, value statement, and what our goals are to accomplish within the district. First, our mission is to provide a safe learning environment where our students, faculty, support staff, and our district property are protected. That's across the board for me. I think y'all have known me for a year now and seen what I'm trying to build and the vision that I have for the police department, and I hope that you're satisfied so far with what you've seen. Our values, it will always be this way and it'll never change, is to serve, protect, and to model integrity and demonstrate professionalism in everything that we do. It's very important that I hire the right people, and I hope that you've met some of the officers that we've hired and see the type of person that it takes to be a Forney ISD police officer. And our goals, this is very important for now and also for the future of the police department, is to become a premier law enforcement agency so that future officers will want to come here and have an impact in the community, and we do that by education and mentoring. And what I mean by the educational side and the mentoring side is basically we're educators first. I mean, we're law enforcement, but we're in there in the campus for a reason, and that reason is to educate people as well. Mentoring is very important to me, and this is something that I instill in every person that works for our district, and that is to be visible, to be out front, to be engaged with not only the community but the internal community of each campus, and that's really important to me. And from moving on from that point on, that's a very high focus. That is a picture of us in August of last year, and this is before uniforms. This is before all the flashy stuff that you see that we have now, and I thank you for all the equipment that you're providing us, and I know a police department is very expensive, especially starting one out, but I can't thank you enough. That is the first group of people, and since then we've hired 3 more that you don't see in the photo. And we're growing, and as the district grows, we shall grow too. And what I was getting at before was that it takes a special type of person to be a police officer, and it takes an even more special type of person to be a police officer in a school-based setting. So that is a tough task for me, and is a tough task for any law enforcement leader in the state of Texas. Not a lot of people want to be police officers anymore. I have that task to bring the best and the brightest to the district, and I'm tasked with that, and I promise you I'm gonna keep that up. With that, one of the things that I focus on with my personnel has to do with personalized service. They are actively engaged in the daily activities of each campus. If they're not assigned to a specific campus, they're extending out to the elementaries and building family relationships within the district. And that's a huge part of what I am, is building relationships. And I think that y'all know that based on what you've seen so far, and we're going to continue to do that. I think I missed a photo. Oh, yep, one was taken out. So, all right, so the future plans, and to make it short and sweet and come to a conclusion, the future, my areas of focus that you're going to see is community outreach. That's an important aspect. Right now we're doing the RAD class, and that is a self-defense class for women, and we sponsor that, and we usually do it once a quarter. And Jill Smith is one of our officers at Ray, and she's heading the class, and I get to be the practice dummy. And so she's going to beat me up several times here in the near future. So that's something that we're instilling in the district. We just finished signing the contract with Crime Stoppers to continue that relationship. I would like to start an Explorer program in the high schools, both the high schools. That would be great. And I'm going to look into that in the near future, and followed by some civilian interaction program to where not only our students but the community members can find out how to interact with the police and how we interact with citizens. And that seems to be a very touchy subject that I really want to address, because without having those relationships, you're not going to, we're nothing without relationships. And that's, if you can't see, that's my main focus, is building those relationships. And that's the second portion of what I have up there, is continue to build relationships with our campus administrators, our community, and other outside law enforcement agencies. And those are probably the most difficult ones out of all of them, believe it or not, are the outside law enforcement agencies, because everyone is so tight to the vest and they want to keep everything to themselves. That's up to me to do. And I think we've been successful. I think we started out with a plan when we first got here. I could have a checkoff list, and probably about 75% of the things that were goals we've already achieved, and I'm very excited about it. The final thing would probably be the Texas Police Chiefs Association recognition program, and that is a set of 170 standards that state agencies, police, law enforcement agencies follow, and it does two things. Number one, it brings credibility to your agency, and the second thing, it gives you a higher bond rating. So that's something John's probably really interested in your bond rating. So, I hope so. But that's it. That's the State of the Union for the first year that we're in. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
Any questions? Well, thank you, Chief Sanders, and tell your whole team appreciation and thanks to them for keeping us safe every day.
Thank you.
And being here to respond to all our needs at every campus, every day, all the places y'all have to be. I don't know how you do it, so keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next, we're moving on to item E, and that would be announce school board compliance and non-compliance with continuing education hours. I get the privilege to present this. This is an annual report that we do as recommended by TASB and the state. This year it's a little different, so board members and audience, please bear with me as I have a lot more information to share than normal. So, and it's quite a detailed script that we are to be in compliance with this year that I have to read, so forgive me for reading to you. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. There are 7 training areas for board members' continuing education. 1, local district orientation. 2, orientation to the Texas Education Code. 3, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code. 4, team building. 5, additional continuing education. 6, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. And 7, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. To the extent this is applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as the required training. Following, I will announce any other board members training in excess of the continuing education requirements. 1, no new board members were required to complete local district orientation training for the time period covered by the announcement. 2, no new board members were required to complete orientation Texas Education Code training for the time period covered by this announcement. And 3, no board members were required to complete post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training for the time period covered by this announcement. 4, all board members have completed the annual team build training. 5, the following board members have completed the additional continuing education requirements: myself, Chad Johnson, Barbara Jo Green, Scott Regan, Christopher Andrews, and Becky Dobbs. The following board members are deficient in meeting the additional continuation requirements, but as time permits between now and the school, that would be Mr. Heath Carroll. So you have time if you want to hurry up and do that in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Moving on then to number 6, all board members have completed the biannual training on evaluation student academic performance and setting goals. And 7, all board members have completed the biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking in 2020. Some additional board members that to recognize: Board Member Christopher Andrews exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 1.5 additional hours. Board Member Scott Regan exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.75 additional hours. He's an overachiever. Board Member Barbara Jo Green exceeded the required amount of continuing education hours by 0.5 additional hours. So thank you to all of these who've met or exceeded their opportunities. And we will move on then to the next item, number 9, in our agenda tonight. Item number 9 is a public forum. At this time, no one is signed to speak to the board, so we'll move on to item number 10, consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, 10A is approved minutes from March 1st, demographic update. B, approved minutes from March 1st regular board meeting. C, approved minutes of March 18th special called meeting. D, approved budget amendments. E, approved the update 116 as the final reading. F, approved the network firewall purchase. G, approved construction bids. H, statement of impact from charter schools, as you see in your packet listed there. Board members to take action on each of these separately or collectively. Do I have a motion?
Ferris, I move that we approve the consent agenda collectively as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Then moving on to item 11, consideration and possible approval of the District of Innovation 5-year renewal plan. Ms. Morzak?
Thank you, Mr. Ferris, Dr. Terry, Board. As I presented in the public hearing earlier today, we are asking that the board approve the renewal of our 5-year District of Innovation plan. And as I mentioned earlier, it's just merely a 5-year renewal of the current plan that we have in place with nothing added.
Thank you, Ms. Morzak. Dr. Terry, do you have a recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. And yes, sir. I would like to go on record and say that we do, even though that duty-free lunch is in here still, just to go ahead and reiterate that our goal, our plan is next year to put that in, whether this is part of the plan or not, and we can go back and amend. But unless COVID makes us do that next year, which we pray it won't, that is our intent by all means. But we would like to recommend the renewal of the plan as is right now.
Board, you've heard their recommendations. Are any other questions? I hear none. May I have a motion?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion the board approve the District of Innovation 5-year renewal plan as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. This time we'll move on to item 12, closed session. It is now 8:19 p.m. and we'll convene into closed section under Texas Government Code sections 551074, 551071, 551072. 12A is deliberation regarding the ratification and employment of professional contract personnel pursuant to Texas Government Code 551074, and B, deliberation regarding reemployment of professional contract personnel pursuant to Texas Government Code 551074, and C, consultation with attorney pursuant to Government Code 551071. We are now be dismissed. It's now 9:01, and we'll call this meeting back to open session. Moving on to item 13, consideration and possible approval of ratification employment of professional contract personnel. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion the board approve the ratification of employment of professional contract personnel as discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Green, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item 14, consideration and possible approval regarding the reemployment of professional contract personnel. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion the board approve
Thank you, Ms. Dobbs. May I have a second? Second. Mr. Johnson, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Any opposed? And I hear none. Dr. Cherry, would you like to go over the announcements and the addition of the new date?
Yes, sir, thank you. We've got some an exciting week this week. And just as a reminder, we will have 3 upcoming groundbreakings. One will be the Aquatic Center. It'll be across from Rhodes Intermediate at the site for the new Aquatic Center at 5:30 tomorrow. Don't forget to wear your hard hat. We also have planned Friday, April 16th for the Willett Elementary School groundbreaking on site. If we have rain, we will look to move that date to a possible date in the future of May the 7th. So that would be a backup tentative date right now. Thursday, May the 6th, I'm happy to announce we have gotten a good progress report from our development partners out at Overland Grove, and the Johnson groundbreaking we have reset for May the 6th at 5:30 p.m. So just a reminder also that we do have on May the 10th, we have the second Monday, not the first in May, after elections there, so we can ratify our election process there on May the 10th. And then graduation, we have locked in at Globe Life on the 24th, and those times are 4 and 8 o'clock. North Forney will be first this year. Forney High will be second. And just to go ahead and mark your calendars now for our June 1st board meeting as well on a Tuesday. And I want to point out that's a Tuesday, not a Monday. That is a Tuesday, June the 1st. All right, Mr. Ferris, that is our announcements for this evening, and got some backup dates for these groundbreakings because spring is here.
Any other questions from the board? I hear none. We'll call this meeting adjourned at 9:04 p.m.